Hey, so we need to talk about this ban list. Hey everybody, welcome back to UniX DBS, and today we're going to talk about the ban list that has everybody up in arms. And there's honestly a lot to talk about here, but we're gonna try to do it as quick as possible. I have some views that may be contradicting a lot of people, but I've been seeing the complaining and the outrage hit fever pitch levels that I actually think is kind of, at this point, almost like ridiculous. And so we definitely have to talk about it. I do want to say, right before we get into that, because I want to make sure I get into the meat and potatoes as quick as possible, we are ever expanding here on Universe X, and we are getting close to that 2,000 mark. So if you like this sort of content, you like what I do, you like what I bring to the table, I think you should go down, like the video, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat here in Universe X, and also comment to let me know what you think about this take and the ban list in general. Past that, if you haven't already, go and give the Facebook group a like and a follow, because this is how you get these official announcements like these here. And at the same time, I think you should also visit the unofficial discussion group, as well as the unofficial Reddit, as well as the Universe X Discord, so you can talk about this card game. In the Universe X Discord, we talk about plenty of things that aren't even in the card game. So it's all around win-win there. Now, going into this, we have a bunch of cards. We have 4 cards on the ban list, we have 2 cards on the limit list, and we have 2 cards on the errata list. I'm gonna dive into them. The first card we're gonna get to is Secret Identity Masked Sand. Now the Bandai reason says, since this card's release, it has remained a staple overwhelm card for decks of all colors. In order to encourage more diverse overwhelm strategies and improve overall player enjoyment, we're gonna ban this card. Now, I think it's kind of weird they said diverse overwhelm, because since overwhelm is a flex spot by nature, we're gonna use the best ones that are available. If this goes, we're gonna find the next one. We might use the Masked Sand that costs 5 engraved but costs 1 to play. The point is, it's going to happen. Now, the other thing about this though, is that when it comes to overwhelms, they kind of defy the flow of this game, in the sense that this game has always been a resource management game. You count the opponent's cards in hand, you know generally amount they can combo to. You look at their open energy and you generally know what responses you can expect. You don't have to expect a topo on 1 energy, because you know that can't be played that way. Free overwhelms suspend belief, because, well, you have to suspend your, your knowledge of how things are supposed to go, because they can honestly pop off in so many different ways and you don't even know what card's coming. No energy, so I should be fine. Oh wait, they came out with a card that comes down and swings twice for 25k, or they came down with a card that's going to remove parts from my board. That's kind of wild. Now the thing I want to talk about this with, because everybody's like, oh, why did they ban Secret Identity? Because it does this, because it does that. Sorry, George. Oh, because it hurts tokens. No, this card can come down and blow up a whole field of tokens. Yes, it could also blow up 3 small blockers. Yes, it could blow up a setup card 1-drop for your deck, like a U7 Gohan, plus a threat, or 2 small cards. It can come down and it can blow up your Android 17 and then another 3-drop. There are so many things that this card can do, but the thing that hurts me most about it is that I generally try to speak about color identity. I always do, and this card defies color identity very hard. The colors that should have access to destruction, if you guys have seen my 4-part, and if you haven't, I think you should, because it's a great history of the game / understanding the game segment. But my color identity videos, green is supposed to be the color of removal, and black dips into that with warping. But this black Masked Sand is not leader restricted, not color restricted, so every single color has access to this run it and gun it style of removal. And it'd be one thing if you had to go, okay, if the format is green heavy, I need to worry about playing this token deck, or I need to worry about playing this weenie deck, or I need to worry about the matchups when I have to have a 1-drop on the field to function correctly. But Secret Identity Masked Sand just gives every single color this ability, and so it just pretty much effectively gatekeeps the format from these strategies that employ weenies, that employ tokens, that employ lots of small blockers, that employ small 1-drops that set up things, 2-drops that set up things. And so this card, by existing, warps the format in a way you don't even see, because these decks never even make it to the table because this card exists. And I think that's reason enough to think we might need to step away from this card, because it polarizes certain aspects of the game and it makes an entire couple archetypes unplayable because it exists. And that's too much power for one generic card that can be played in every deck to have. Next, we've got Piano Reign of Terror. They said this card allowed decks utilizing King Piccolo Leader to draw a significant and consistent amount of cards. We found the dominance of this card to be difficult to interact with, and leading to repeated play patterns. In order to encourage strategies based on new card types and improve overall player enjoyment, we decided to ban this card. Basically, King Piccolo has been around too long, since set 12, Vicious Rejuvenation. It's been around for too darn long, it does too damn much, and it is too spongy. And between Piccolo Jr. Unison, drawing a card every turn, and Piano, drawing a card when you are doing what the deck's supposed to do anyway, you're able to draw a plethora amount of cards, backed by King Piccolo's consistent pressure, its ability to dip into its life to get more cards, and then its ability to also have Red's suite of defensive power, makes this just too much draw power to see. I believe 3 cards on your turn, 2 on your opponent's. That's a lot. That's really a lot. Or 1 on your opponent's, 3 on your turn. It's just a whole lot of cards to go through. Now, hitting this card makes sense because this is going to hit King Piccolo personally without harming other parts of Red, and it's going to slow down its ability to get cards in hand. As we saw with cards like decks like Icarus, just slowing down the speed at which they acquire cards is a good way of shutting down the deck's toxicity, because it's able to string together so many cards. Cat, stop it. Anywho, we are going over to the next card, the next ban card, Gogeta Marvelous Might. This card contributed greatly to the power of Xeno Gogeta Leader decks, and can generate a significant amount of battle cards for little energy. Gogeta has played a dominant role in the meta since its release in set 12. That is kind of false, because it took multiple sets. It needed thwarting and other things to actually be good. In addition, or in order to encourage diversity in competitive black decks and improve overall player enjoyment, we decided to ban this card. Now, I do agree with that. If you weren't playing Gogeta Zeno, you were pretty much kidding yourself unless you got a good Dark Broly build. But banning this is going to essentially really start to shift black decks to go, why am I playing Gogeta Zeno? Why aren't I looking at, the new Toa deck that comes out? Why am I not looking at Xeno Trunks that just came out? Why am I not looking at Dark Broly? It's going to open the field greatly, and that's what this was intended to do. This card does a lot for a lot. You're making 3 swings out of 2 energy, and that's a huge amount for any deck. I was playing against a Gogeta Zeno player at Fest at table 2, and turn 4, I thought I had the game on lock with 18 cards in hand, imposing presence in my Gohan combo power, and the guy, he had his his thwarting on board, his SSG Trunks, which had to swing twice under imposing presence, so I wasn't worried about it. But he also was able to Marvelous Might me twice in the same turn, as well as establish Xeno. It was crazy. I got swung on so many times, and I folded under all that pressure. The second Marvelous Might really got to me. And so I can see how this is kind of an overextension. Now, I think this is the one part on this list where I could have just kind of seen it as you can only play Marvelous Might once per turn, and it might have been fine. But they decided to get rid of the card altogether. And that's kind of heavy to me, but it is what it is. Last banned card. We got SS4 Bardock fighting against Fate. And this one is along the same lines as Secret Identity. This card became utilized in a wide variety of black decks. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Since this card's released, it has remained a staple overroam card for decks of all colors in order to encourage more diverse overroam strategies, which again, I think that's a weird point, and improve overall player enjoyment. We've decided to ban this card. Okay, once again, talking about color identity, you could shove this into any deck and give it an aggressive edge. And once again, red and black are the aggressors in this game when it comes to pressure through battle cards. And it was just wild that if you wanted a top-end finisher that didn't cost energy, that you could back with Champa if need be, you just threw this card in. You were playing any semi-aggressive deck or a tempo deck, you throw this card in. It and Secret Identity Mass Sand were interchangeable because they cost the same amount in grave, and one's removal, one's face beating. And it just kind of becomes this point where your deck was, okay, I'm going to put in my super combos, I'm going to put in my my super combos, and then a fighting against Fate, and I'll build from there. And that's kind of wild that it was just that strong. So I think it's heavy to ban this card, but I also understand it because one thing that Bandai is seeming to try to get away from are these homogeneous decks where these decks are just running the same cards across the board because they're generically good. And yeah. So moving on to this next part, we're going to go to the limited list. We have got Piccolo Jr, Descendant of the King. And since this card's release has been the default unison of choice for red decks due to its high power level, the card is universally powerful to the point of shutting out other red unison choices. In order to encourage strategies based on new card types and improve overall player experience enjoyment, we decided to limit this card. This is no joke. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, why don't you just limit the auto so it destroys once per turn? To be honest, the auto destroying once per turn is almost all you need. Counter and negate. Makes blocker token. I'm gonna blow that up. Well, that sucks. And they don't have to blow, like if they made it an auto, I think if they made it you may, that would be disgusting because it already is a you may. So they wouldn't just blow up your first Mecha Frieza that you play. They blow up your counter play token negate, like or counter attack token negate. Like they are gonna blow up the best card for them, and it's not even close. On top of this card draws once per turn. This card can nuke the field. You can literally free play New Ruler and nuke your opponent's board for everything 20k or less. This card was too powerful, and it made it so that you could not use any red unison. The red unison had to have nuts synergy like Frieza and Gohan in order to even think about using this card. Look at U7 Goku. The 3-drop unison package is very, very strong. Being able to have your opponent play an opposing Vegeta SCR and you go, well, I'm going to Videl you, I'm going to freaking Jiren you, and I'm going to counter window 2. I'm going to hit you with the Goku counterplay, and then Goku counterplay is going to neg you, and you're going to minus, you know, the last bit I'm going to draw. That's a huge play. You can get rid of somebody's 1 per deck card, but you could also argue that it's just better to play 4 freaking Piccolo because the card is so strong. That's so insane. The card warped the format and maybe pretty much dusted every other blue or red 2-drop unison, and that was too much. It just needed to either go, and this is kind of making it like a boss card. And to be fair, I don't really mind that. When I was playing Gohan, I played 4 Frieza, 1 Piccolo because there were just some times where I'm just like, okay, well, they're going to start countering and adding to their board. I'm going to throw this Piccolo down. Or I would side the second Piccolo to side it in during other matchups, but this is just a lot. Now, we're going to go over to the next one, Gogeta, Thorn in the Dark Empire. This card became utilized in a variety of black decks, leading to a repetitive play pattern. To encourage diversity in competitive black decks, as well as improve overall player enjoyment, we decided to limit this card. Again, I understand it. If you were a Black Sand, you were using this card. You were using the package. Black decks pretty much have looked, for the most part, all the same, and it became which decks can best house this package, and that makes Dark Broly and Gogeta Zeno. And it's just to the point where, you know, it is once again becoming one of those homogeneous looks to black in general. You play the Gogeta package and it's just what vehicles do it best. So putting this to 1 is going to do 2 things. It's going to slow down the aggression from this card, which shouldn't be a 4 of when you can play it on turn 1, but it's also going to ensure that mini decks are going to start running more SS4 Beyond All Limits if they don't already max out on them, because these cards are going to be able to recycle your Gogetas as well as other things. And yeah, it's just going to change, and it's going to slow down that cycle too. If you only have 1, you have to use it as the boss card, and then you have to actually use SS4 Beyond All Limits to get it back. So that's a thing. Now, the last 2 things are 2 erratas. You have Super Saiyan Son or God Son Goku, and you know, they took away its awakening. Essentially, what they did was they took away its ability to awaken when you have 3 cost unison. The reasoning said the generic abilities of this leader can often make it the most viable choice for blue strategies. To reduce the power level of this leader to align with other blue leaders and limit the card's effect on future card design, we decided to errata this card. They opened up all of blue, because so far it's just been Soul Striker and the occasional SS4 Bardock, and then shout outs to Big O Notation, you got Bardock on the, or you got wow, Bojack on the map. But other than that, it's mostly Soul Striker, and they wanted to make sure that you can't just sit there and awaken at 7 life and then proceed to dominate with the untap to draw 1. At the same time, this is going to open up a lot of other things. You have more leaders that are going to awaken at higher life totals with unisons, like that can play the 2-drop unison and then flip over, and you're going to want to look at those a little bit more for their effects. But Soul Striker was just too safe. There are many blue decks that have better effects than Soul Striker on a specified scope, but aren't as safe as Soul Striker's generic draw 1 and tap 2, and now they just made it unsafe to rely on that, because you got to get on a 4 life to get that effect, meaning that you can get swung out pretty quickly by the time you can start using your on tap 2. So that's actually a huge issue. Now, on the other hand, though, that means that this deck can start playing 2-drop Unisons, and 2-drop Unisons can put your powerful blue Unison suite online very quickly. So we're going to have to see where Soul Striker settles. This is still a decent leader to a good leader, but this is going to open the door for a lot of blue decks. Then the last one, the one that has everybody up in arms, Android 17 MVP, the new promo card for Invoker. It used to just be Sparking 5, 1 red to gain Invoker for until the end of your turn, so a total of 3 total turns. Your turn, your opponent's turn, then your turn. Now it's going to be red, red, blue, which means that it's essentially going to cost the same amount as playing the Vegeta Invoker card. Now I'm going to put this out here right now. I know a lot of people are upset because this promo is new. This promo was a cash cow, and now it has been eroded. I'm going to say one thing. When they wanted to buff this deck, they fully realized that playing a battle card and gaining Invoker could be faulty because more and more cards are going through barrier every single day. Now, well, every single set. But now, the thing to understand here is that 1 energy was way too much. Way too little for this to cost. It gave an incredible amount of power to a deck because it gave it to your leader, and your leader is uninteractable with like that. You can't strip a leader of effects. So giving it for 1 energy was far too much. And while they aren't trying to, they didn't hurt the deck. They're just saying that you're going to pay the same amount as Vegeta. This is essentially a better Vegeta now. It always was a better Vegeta, but now it's just 100% in line with Vegeta's cost. It's just going to be better because they can't kill it off the board using some battle card removal through barrier. And when it comes to that, it's just, that is how it is. Like, this is too much energy economy. You use it and you have 2 energy open if you have 3 energy, if you use it on curve. And that's insane for a deck like this. So I'm just saying they are doing a solid for the format. And I know lots of people are like, oh, okay, well, only a couple people can play it. Yeah, okay. Your Carricks, your Rioses, your sublets will be able to play Invoker to maximum toxicity. But that shouldn't be your argument. That's like saying, oh, these cards are only good if your opponent's good. You shouldn't be banking on somebody being dumb or playing subpar for a toxic environment to not happen. If the cards are able to create toxic environments as a dev team, they should look at them and curb them when they can. And this shows something to me, that they were willing to hurt a card that was popular in the secondary market, popular with fans, in order to keep the integrity of their competitive play good. Because yes, not everybody has an Apex, but if you take this deck and you practice hard enough, you will make some very, very toxic plays, toxic game states. You will become a brick house that can't be broken from a lot of things. And there are cards you can side, yes, but there's no reason to look at a card and know it makes some actively toxic setups and not touch it because, oh, there are cards that can be sided against it. That's not what a dev team should do. So the fact that they are doing this change and specifically saying they're looking out for the metagame, that's what's up, in my opinion. I think this is a very excellent hit, and it shows some more longevity for the game when the dev team is able to take a step back and go, I know this is a prize card, I know this is expensive and lots of players are playing for it, but this is not how we want our game to go, and so we have to touch it. I respect that. Now, when it comes to this ban list, I'm gonna say it right here. This is about a 9.5 out of 10. This ban list is almost perfect. It hurt King Piccolo without destroying red while opening up red to having other strategies that aren't King or Piccolo Jr. unison. Hurt black hurt Gogeta Zeno without harming black as a whole, because black can actually start using its other boss cards, not just relying on Gogeta Zeno to pull its weight. Didn't touch yellow because yellow's kept the back seat. And if you're over here going, yellow is gonna reign supreme again, dude, yellow gets destroyed most of the time by U7 Goku. So stop it. Like, that's not how this is gonna go. And on top of that, you're moving over to blue, opening up all of its doors now that Soul Striker isn't the de facto best in slot for pretty much any blue deck you could run. On top of that, green wasn't touched because green's been terrible for multiple sets. They just equalized so much and made an opener format, and if people spent a little bit of time not complaining, they'd probably see that. This isn't the result of people whining. This is actually the result of Bandai. Like, 3 of these cards, the Mass Sand, actually, every card on here but maybe Marvelous Might was an actual attempt to make sure that people weren't just junking up on the same cards over and over again, and that the format was open and free of toxicity. So, you know what? For what it's worth, I actually applaud Bandai. I've never sat here and applauded Bandai for a list, but I think this is one of the most well thought off ban lists they have ever released in the history of this game. Now, if you feel differently, let me know in the comments. I will be glad to talk to everybody about this, and I will be glad to see your points, counter them if I can. If I can't, I'll concede. If I think you made a good point, I will let you know, but let's make a discussion in the comments. Either way, thank you guys for seeing the hot takes. I think this ban list is one of the best ban lists ever. I will see you guys the next time you decide to join Universe X, and yeah, let's usher in this new format. Later.